In this video lesson, we'll be learning how to perform operations on functions to determine the resulting function. We'll be using the four basic operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. The first example, we're going to add the two functions together. So f plus g of x, we can rewrite as f of x plus g of x. All we're now going to do is replace the function f of x with its expression 2x minus 2. Then we're going to take the g of x function and replace it with x squared plus 3x minus 4. The concept now is combining like terms, or CLT. Here we're going to look for all like terms: x squared, 2x and a 3x, negative 2 and a negative 4. The resulting function is a quadratic. In the second example, we're going to subtract the two functions. We'll use similar reasoning. We'll take f of x minus g of x. Here, there's a little trick or an exception. Here, what we'd like to do is put parentheses around the function g of x, or whatever is being subtracted. The reason for that, it will allow us to take the subtraction in front of the parentheses and distribute it through. Again, we have f of x, 2x minus 2, minus parentheses, g of x. Now we can take that negative in front of the parentheses, so think of this as a negative 1, and we can distribute it into each term inside of the parentheses. Another way to do this, if you don't like to use distributive property, is to use the definition of subtraction. If you don't want to distribute, we can add the opposite of each term and get the same result. So either way, you'd be correct. I will take adding the opposite since I've already started it here. Okay? So now again, we're going to combine the resulting like terms. Negative x squared. 2x minus 3x is a negative x. And then negative 2 plus 4 is a positive 2. The resulting function, again, is in a quadratic form. Multiplication, again, we'll take this and break it into its two functions of f times g of x. The trick here is to always place the smaller function in front of the larger function. What I mean by that is the one with less terms goes first. So we'll make a quick note of that. Okay, put a little cloud here to remind us. Place function with less terms first. That is just going to make the distributive property a lot easier. So 2x minus 2 times g of x, which has 3 terms, will place second. Now we can distribute each term and then combine like terms. So next, we'll finish up by distributive property. So we'll use distributive property, then combine like terms. So 2x times x squared, 2x times 3x, 2x times a negative 4. Now we'll take the negative 2 and distribute the negative 2 to each term in the second parentheses. Negative 6x, negative 2x squared, negative 2 times positive 3, negative 6x, and then negative 2 times negative 4, which is a positive 8. Now we can combine like terms. 2x cubed stands alone. 6x squared and a negative 2x squared is a 4x squared. Remember, we're not adding exponents, we're only adding the coefficients when we combine like terms. Now we'll take negative 8x and add that to a negative 6x, or negative 14x, and then the constant. So here, the resulting function is a cubic function, the result of multiplying f times g of x. In the last example, we will be doing division. Division is a little bit different, as we are going to be simplifying or reducing the fraction. So that's our objective. So we know what we're going to be doing. Now the question is how. Again, we'll take f divided by g of x and rewrite it as f of x divided by g of x. F of x is 2x minus 2. G of x is x squared plus 3x minus 4. Since we are simplifying or reducing the fraction, what we want to do here is get this into factored form or a factored format. So in order to do that, we have to look at each part, numerator and denominator individually. The numerator can be factored using the GCF method of factoring. The denominator can be used using the AC method of factoring, a method I prefer to use with my students. In the numerator, the GCF, or the common factor, is a 2. So we'll take that out. Now we're going to see what times 2 is x. I need an x. What times 2 is negative 2? I need a negative 1, or a minus 1. In my denominator, I'm going to utilize the AC method of factoring. So here off to the side, let's see what we have for our factors of a times c, which is 1 times negative 4, or negative 4, that add up to the middle term, which is a positive 3. So it multiplies and adds to 3. Factors of 4 can be 4 and 1, and of course 2 times 2. But 4 and 1 makes the most sense. If I put a positive 4 and a negative 1, let's check it. Does it multiply? Yes. Does it add? Correct. So now I'm going to take those two numbers and use them to rename the middle term. So x squared plus 4x minus 1x minus 4. Now I can factor by grouping. Factor by grouping utilizes the GCF method of factoring again. So the GCF between an x squared and a 4x is an x. What's left is x plus 4. The GCF between a negative 1x and a negative 4, I can only take out the common factor, negative 1. What's left is an x plus 4. Here I have a common factor again. So again, I can take out the common factor, which is a binomial factor of x plus 4. And what's left is x minus 1. So the leftover factor becomes the x minus 1 here that I'm blocking off. So x minus 1. Now let's replace our denominator with the factored form. X plus 4 times x minus 1. Now that everything is in terms of factors, as you can see here, factors meaning multiplication, I can now reduce these, just like I would reduce 2 divided by 2 is 1 over 1. So here I have x minus 1 divided by x minus 1 is a common factor, so I'm going to place a 1 over 1. The result is 2 over x plus 4. So we have reduced a fraction of f of x divided by g of x. A little later on, we will go a step further and actually get into what the excluded values are and how it affects the domain of this particular function. For now, let's just learn the skill and master that first.